Yeah.
That brings us to our next speaker, which is we're very honored to have Tim Leberecht with us. Tim is currently in Stuttgart, not far from here, and he is the CEO of House of Beautiful Business, which is an agency that does a lot of good things. I think predominantly trying to kind of change corporate life from within and making it more human and better. I was following Tim and his team quite a lot during the COVID pandemic because they had a wonderful series of online seminars as well. Tim, welcome to the World Hope Forum Germany.
Hi, good to be here. You hear me okay? You see me okay? Good. Good to be here. Should I share my screen and start?
Yeah, please introduce yourself better and share your screen. That would be fantastic.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So my name is Tim. It's great to be here. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of the House of Beautiful Business. We call ourselves the Network for the Life-Centered Economy, and our mission is to make business more inclusive, more imaginative, more playful, more tender. In one word, beautiful. Now, you might wonder, really, good luck with that mission, because it seems like the world around us is becoming uglier and uglier. It seems, in fact, to be collapsing, and we're staring into the abyss of what some people call the polycrisis, this web of mutually entangled, mutually compounding existential crisis. Climate, of course, the polarization of our societies, and the mental health crisis, a crisis of well-being. And if you step back, then I believe that you can observe three illnesses. So we live in increasingly divided times. We are increasingly disconnected from nature, from others, and from ourselves. And at the root of all of this, I believe, is really a crisis of attention. We're just so exposed to constant digital stimuli, and we're suffering from constant distraction. Some studies say that the average amount of the average time of undivided attention that we can garner and bring to any given task is 47 seconds. And that's only going to be aggravated as tech platforms, of course, are invading our attention and extracting it, fracking it, and making sure that our attention is never truly ours. And that has grave consequences, because if love is the quality of attention that we pay to things, as the poet J.M. McClatchy said, then we run the risk of living in a loveless world. If we divide our attention, we divide our societies. And I think that's particularly evident at the workplace, where we spend 85% of our waking hours, at least as knowledge workers. We have, over the past few decades, revered what I call three false gods. They're not per se evil or bad, but we've obsessed over them. We've sort of mistaken them for the only truth. And they are rationality, so it's the belief in the supremacy of the mind, of the intellect, of logic. Then secondly, data, the idea that data represents some sort of objective truth, and that whoever has the data wins. And then thirdly, winning, which still justifies all means, really leading to a winner takes all society. So we do need a new economy. We need a new economic paradigm that moves us away from the predominant paradigm of the past few decades, which was really the human-centered economy, which put the human squarely at the center, at the expense of living systems around us, with tremendous externalities, external externalities and internal externalities, of course, our well-being. We need a new economy that's shaped by the rise of AI, the need for sustainability, the desire to belong, and the search for more meaning. We call this the life-centered economy. It's an economy that honors all life around us, but also all life inside us. And it necessitates a shift away from the smart age to an era in which we can do our work more beautifully, with a different set of virtues and principles and qualities. Instead of planning, sensing, instead of formality and rigidity and rigor, fluidity and flexibility. Instead of cultures that are explicit and numbers-based, cultures that are ambiguous and poetic. Instead of big data, big intuition. Instead of leadership that is hard and harsh, leadership that is soft and tender. Instead of the pressure to be happy at all times at the workplace, the permission to be sad. Instead of productivity, energy. And instead of having all the answers, asking questions. And with the House of Beautiful Business, this global community that I co-founded 7 years ago, we are seeking to create experience and rituals and practices that help companies and individuals do so. And to inform everything that we do, we have crafted what we call the tenets of beautiful business. And we hope that they are also inspirational for organizations and professionals that we work with. So here they are. Begin with mystery. Change the world by creating a new one, even just for a few hours. Create a space where people can get lost without losing. Don't waste time with efficiency. If AI is eating the world, we might as well have a glass of wine with it. Put on your own oxygen mask first. We are one, but not the same. We are ugly, but we have the music. Show up when it's showtime and in silence, and leave the door open on your way out. And to bring these experiences to life, of course, we start with language, with words. We're trying to reframe, to recreate the language of business. Sometimes we do it in a somewhat playful, casual way, as we did with this social media campaign that we devised for Valentine's Day this year. And we do it through books. The book that I wrote in 2015 called The Business Romantic, or The Book of Beautiful Business, an anthology of essays written by our members, or books entirely written by our members, such as this one. We publish a bi-weekly newsletter called Beauty Shot that examines the intersection between disciplines that have long been neglected by business, such as philosophy, the arts, the humanities. And we try to bring tropes and words into the realm of business that seem very alien to it, such as melancholy or grief. And then we move this new vocabulary that we're trying to craft into business in the form of conversations. So for example, we created a card game called Beautiful Business Conversations that helps business leaders and actually any worker to have more authentic, intimate, vulnerable conversations about big topics that matter to them. We run online sessions regularly with conversations. We bring conversations to venues of status and power, traditional forms of status and power, such as the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos. And we create our own events and experiences. We have a community that comprises approximately 50,000 people worldwide, and some of them run their own events. They run so-called living room sessions in more than 30 cities worldwide. They run dinners and they meet, and we run an annual festival that we have hosted in Lisbon in Portugal since 2017. We always do it at very unique locations. This year is the Academy of Sciences in Lisbon, and we use these festivals to experiment with immersive, transformative, ideally transformative experiences that go under people's skin, that engage participants emotionally, intellectually, somatically, and spiritually. So, for example, at one of our festivals here, this one in Lisbon, we actually created a musical over the course of 2 hours, which we rehearsed with everyone. And then we actually pulled one woman who was just randomly walking by the venue into the event and performed the musical just for her, a musical just for one person. In 2021, we hosted a festival with the theme Concrete Love, also in Lisbon. And it was the first gathering in person after the epidemic. And here too, we try to experiment with bringing in an online audience literally onto the walls of a warehouse that we transformed in Lisbon. And we ran, which is also something we often do, a social experiment. We invited a 5-year-old girl, Maya, from South Africa to challenge our community with a bet. She said, I bet that you adults who talk a great deal about climate action but fail to take action really, that you will not be able to agree on one single climate action, no matter how small, in the next 60 minutes. And of course, she was proven right. We failed and we could not agree on it. It was a very sobering, humiliating, but also tremendously insightful experience for everybody who was there. Then in 2023, we hosted a festival with the theme, The Dream, in the mystical hills of Sintra in Portugal. Again, at a unique location. It was the summer residence of Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes. We had a greenhouse, a digital greenhouse, to explore digital sustainability. We invited participants to share their dreams. And we worked with a death doula to stage a living funeral. So to invite participants to, witness their own death, to write an obituary and think about the legacy that they leave behind for a couple of hours. A really profound experience. Some of the people were driven to tears, and for some of them it was a really life-changing experience. We also invited professional synchronized swimmers, because there's actually a lot to learn from synchronized swimming about collaboration in business and about how to be in sync. Then in May this year, we took the festival for the first time to Africa. So we went to Tangier in Morocco, the city between the two: Spain, Morocco, Europe, Africa, global north, global south. And it was the perfect locale for us to explore the dualities shaping this polycrisis world, this transition moment that we're in, the personal and the political, and the political and the personal, embodied through a number of one-on-one formats, such as dialogues, of course, or boxing, or this beautiful collision of beautiful minds, chess here with the Nigerian chess master, Tunde Onakoya. And at the heart of everything we do is a craving for intimacy. We try to create intimacy because we live in this time of a loneliness epidemic and social isolation. By some reports, the average American, for example, is only 2 close friends, and the numbers are very similar in other Western countries. And it's astonishing given the fact that we've never been more connected, never been more communicative than at this point in history. So why are we so lonely? Why are we so isolated? The writer Richard Bach has an explanation. He says the opposite of loneliness is not togetherness. It's not being connected, it's intimacy. And we are in dire need for more intimacy in these digital times. And the workplace in particular has the power and responsibility to create it. How can they do it? And whom can they learn from? Artists. Artists are masters at crafting intimacy. Take the performance artist Marina Abramovic, who just last week at the UK festival, and the music festival in Glastonbury, UK, silenced 250,000 people for 7 seconds. We did at a much smaller scale, similar exercise, actually the corporate retreat of an insurance company. I mean, the nightmare of any HR manager, as you can imagine, where we ask managers to look into each other's eyes for 10 minutes. A very profound experience as well. And the CEO told us afterwards that it has been the most effective measure to foster psychological safety and trust. We do silent sea gazing, and we also stage silent dinners. And let me tell you, I've seen a lot of obscure things in my career, but having a silent dinner with 25 German CEOs has been one of the most awkward experiences that I've ever had. But something beautiful happened after the first awkwardness was past. In the silence, we found a tenderness, a connection that was much more meaningful than any chit-chat at a traditional networking dinner. And one of the guests came to me afterwards and said, "Tim, this was the best business dinner ever for me, because I liked everybody at the table." So it's all about omitting senses. It's about reducing stimuli, which can also happen in the form of a device-free dinner, or a dinner where there's no photography involved, such as this dinner that we staged also in Lisbon. And all of these experiences foster intimacy, and they show us this enormous emotional diversity that we have, that our emotions are not binary, that we are not binary, that we're rich, that we live in the gray, in the in-between. Now, you might wonder, how about intimacy between human and machine? Is that possible? And Her, the movie by Spike Jonze, which came out, I think, 11 years ago, was so clairvoyant, right? So the protagonist falling in love with an AI chatbot, that is happening. And actually, the opposite is happening as well. And this is a conversation that a New York Times reporter had with Sydney, the chatbot of Microsoft, where the AI chatbot declares their love for the reporter. So clearly, this is going off the rails. So there are signs of intimacy, maybe illusions of intimacy, but is it the same as true intimacy? I would argue not, because true intimacy requires vulnerability. There's no intimacy without vulnerability, and vulnerability is not possible without an inherent human trait, which is the ability to suffer. Machines play to win. We humans can find meaning in losing and letting go and surrendering and suffering. But that also means that we have to muster a new form of resilience in times that are very volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and so on. We need to bring in all of our faculties. We need a more holistic approach to doing our work that is not just intellectual, but also emotional, somatic, spiritual, and yes, coexisting and co-working with artificial intelligence. So in our experiences, in our gatherings, we try to foster that holistic resilience by bringing in the body, through somatic exercises, by involving music. We have a musical director on staff, by getting executives to sing every morning at our festival, to sing in a choir, by working with theater ensembles and with dancers who can literally show us what it means to step into the unknown with our whole body. So these are all dimensions of what it means to not just survive, but to thrive in a new life-centered economy. It's all about relationships, because business is always people business. Mindfulness is the relationship to ourselves. Intimacy we need for the relationship to others. And meaning is what we want in the relationship to something greater than ourselves. And that's what we're trying to do with the House of Beautiful Business, whose door is always open to you. There's an annual festival, we have a membership, we publish, we run local events, we bring our network of thought leaders to projects with for-profit and non-profit organizations. And we even have a number of groups that are self-organized, simply driven by intrinsic motivation and passion to shape this new life-centered economy, to do to help craft beautiful business. We call them housework, and you see some of the topics here. So I'll leave you with a quote by the Portuguese writer Fernando Pessoa, who once said, and I love this quote, "Beauty is what does not exist." And he doesn't mean that everything around us is ugly or beauty is impossible. But what I believe he meant is that for beauty to materialize, we must feel it, see it, and make it into being. And if we do so, we can be well. And if we do so, we can thrive, we can come alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tim. That's really nice. It was very inspiring to hear you talk us through the House of Beautiful Business. It's really great. And I loved also what you said about the need of intimacy. And it also made me think of a project that we have here now at the Ornamenta, which we did yesterday also with Lee, which was in the chapel. And we have an image that we'd like to show you. This is the Binding Chapel. It's a project by Diana Hillebrand and Tatjana Stuurmer, and they work together with the fashion designer Philip Schuler, and they involve different industries. As you can see, there's also chain industry involved, from jewelry making chain industry. And it's a chapel to inaugurate all types of ships. So it's for relationships, kinships, situationships, friendships. And it's open throughout the 3 months. And you can go there with your pet or with your best friend or with your family member. And you can actually step into the work and really connect the chain to one another and kind of inaugurate that special relationship that you have, to move away from the focus of a marriage and to move more towards all types of relationships. And this was an event that we did yesterday or 2 days ago with Lee and with Harold Glückler, who is a famous person in Germany, I heard, and Laura Halding-Hoppenheit. And they inaugurated their friendship because they know each other already since Laura was owning a queer club, and Harold would go there as a young boy, and they maintained this friendship. And Lee was the master of ceremony. Sorry, I had to think of this, and I wanted to make a bridge to the Ornamenta because I was so inspired by what you said. So thanks so much.
I love this. Thank you.